The Institute for Fiscal Studies estimates 83% with English student loans won't clear the debt, including interest, within the 30 years. Some of you may think you can click away because you'll never pay off the debt. However, hear me out. We need to go through the numbers because even if you are within that 83%, you may still be paying an absolutely huge amount over the next 30 years. There's 3 types of student loan plans in the UK. This video will focus on Plan 2. How do you know if you're on Plan 2? Well, if you were a student who started an undergraduate course anywhere in the UK on or after the 1st of September 2012. With Plan 2, once you're over the threshold, which is £511 a week or £2,214 before tax and other deductions, you pay 9% of the amount you earn over that threshold. The threshold changes every year on the 6th of April. Using the example on the gov.uk website, if your annual income is £28,800 and you're paid this evenly every month, you take home £2,400 a month, which is above the £2,214 threshold. To be exact, that's £186 above the threshold. You pay back 9% of 186, which is £16 per month. So £16 a month is £192 a year. It's pretty clear that at this level of income, you're not even going to get close to paying off your student loan. And you will probably fall within that 83% category. The amount of interest that will be accruing on top of the money you've already borrowed is going to be far more than that amount. Let's assume you had a student loan debt of £50,000. With just a 3% interest rate, that will be £1,500 a year. The interest on that loan will just continue to snowball. However, the reason for going to university is, in theory, to get you the qualifications to earn more. You can take that loan as an investment into yourself to earn more money in the future. As we start to increase your salary, this is where the decision on repayment gets far more interesting. First, let's remind ourselves of some key points before we can start making decisions. Whilst you're studying, you actually start accruing interest. Gov.uk states, whilst you're studying, interest is 5.6% as of September 2020. This is made up of the RPI plus 3%. RPI is 2.6% for this September. Add on 3% equals 5.6%. This RPI rate is changed every single September. What is RPI? Retail Price Index is a shopping basket of goods UK consumers typically spend their money on. RPI tracks the prices of these goods and measures the price changes. The idea of having RPI and interest is because the RPI is supposed to keep the real value of the loan consistent every year, and the 3% is the interest that you pay for borrowing that money, much like a typical loan. So what this means is that even if you've borrowed, let's say, 50k over a 3 or 4 year period whilst at university, that number would have already grown over those 3 or 4 years that you've been at university. So it's important to check on the Student Finance website how much exactly that you owe. The amount of interest that you have to pay is dependent on how much your annual income is. There's a link in the description to a student loan calculator which I'll be using in this example. In this example, we're going to use the UK average salary of £30,420 a year. Let's say you have 60k of student loan debt. Select Type 2 loan or Type 1, depending on which one you're on. Click Advanced Options. We're going to assume an average of 3% annual pay rise, which is around the UK average. The calculator is going to work out the interest rate, which is dependent on your annual income. Please note in this example, it hasn't been updated as of the 5th of September 2020. However, the difference is only a 0.2% change in RPI. We will keep the year of graduation as 2020. In this example, the debt is never going to be paid off, and after 30 years, it's wiped off completely. If we look at the debt column, you can see the snowball effect I mentioned earlier, as the interest and debt starts to compound. This person's debt has over doubled whilst they have been paying it back from 60k to 134.7k in year 30. If we look at the interest rate column, it's increasing every single year up until year 16. This is where the income is reaching that 47.8k income threshold, where you have an interest rate of 3% on top of RPI. Even though you're earning more and more each year, the debt continues to rise. The really key part of this calculator is the paid this year and interest this year column. If the interest is always greater than the paid this year, like in this example, you're likely never going to pay that debt off. The interest will just continue to snowball and compound. To pay back the loan, what you would need to do is close that gap and get the paid this year to be greater than the interest to start decreasing the overall debt. Two ways to increase that paid this year are to earn more money or by overpaying each month. This is where it gets really interesting. You need to weigh up the opportunity cost of paying off the debt early and getting more money per year at a later date, or you could not pay off the debt and invest that money. Again, there's no guarantee for future returns, but we'll talk about that in a moment. For this example, because the gap is so large between the paid this year and the debt, it's best to save or invest that money, as the debt will just be wiped off after 30 years. For this example, we're going to use 45k a year, 60k student loan debt, plan 2, a 5% annual pay increase in this example. With a university degree, you'd expect a faster salary growth than average. In this example, debt is repaid after 25 years. Total paid is 133k, 73k of interest. So great news for the government, but not your bank account. That's a lot of money paid back, almost 2.5 times the initial investment. If we scroll down and look at the graph, the total paid is starting to become greater than the debt in 2035. However, that's not where we want to look. We need to go back to around 2028, 2029. So around 8 to 10 years after you've graduated. If we go to year 9, we can see the gap becoming very close, and in year 10, the amount paid this year is greater than the interest, and we start to see a decline, stopping the compound debt interest. But already, 35k of interest has already built up. We need to look earlier and make a decision to stop it before interest starts to build up. That gap is around 1.3, 1.4k, which is only the equivalent to £110 a month of extra repayments. The total interest at this point is 9.8k, so if we start to overpay here, over the next couple of years we stop that compounding of interest earlier and reduce the overall interest cost. Furthermore, we also pay off the loan earlier and free up that cash flow at a later date. By intervening in year 3, we stop it rising to 73k. It will still rise, but at a far slower rate. However, again, it's about opportunity cost. Could you use that £110 a month to earn more than the rate of interest? 5.4% isn't guaranteed with stocks and shares. However, historically, they've performed better over a longer period of time. The answer is all about your risk appetite. You could lose that money on stocks and shares, and you still have the interest adding up. Or you could even earn a 10-20% return, depending on a number of factors, from stocks and shares, which would be a far better decision than overpaying. However, unfortunately, we don't have a crystal ball, and you have to make that decision based on your risk appetite. So to summarise, 83% of people won't pay off their student loans, and loans are wiped off after 30 years. The decision to pay off your student loan early is dependent on your annual salary, expected future wage growth, risk appetite, and potential future changes to the repayments. From the examples that we showed, if you're around the UK average and expect an average increase in wages, it's probably better not to pay it off early and consider it like an extra tax. However, if you earn slightly more than the UK average and expect a healthy increase in your wages, then you need to make a decision to either repay early or invest that money. This is really dependent on your risk appetite. If you expect to return lower than the interest rate your debt is subject to at the time, it's likely better to repay. However, with risk can come great reward. Finally, please use the calculator and really think about this. by being diligent, you can save yourself a large amount of money. Thank you for watching this video. Please consider subscribing and comment below if you found it useful or have any further questions, thoughts, critiques, etc.